Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. Zooming in our panel members, Gail Anderson and Richard Whitbread. Our secretary today is Jason Robertson, and the assessor for the city of Winnipeg is Ryan San Juan. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to the assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8 on the docket today. And Jason, can you please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony? Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Ryan San Juan.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Is it possible to, sorry, Brent, is it possible to also swear in Merrick Frolick?
Sure.
Oh, sure. I didn't
realize he was giving testimony.
No problem. I'm here for support.
Certainly. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Merrick Frolick.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The first item on the docket is 25 Scurfield Boulevard. Any preliminary issues on this one? Either party?
No.
Nope.
No? Okay, Ryan, you can proceed with your presentation. Just give me a minute to get there.
Sure.
Okay, let's proceed.
Okay, file number is 222882. Roll number is 0306 516 5800. Address is 25 Scurfield Boulevard. Roll year is 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value is $5,977,000. Parcel use is warehouse. Number of buildings 1. Number of premises 7. Number of stories 1. Actual year and effective year built 2001. Wall height is 27 feet. Zoning is M1. Land area is 84,091 square feet. Plan area is 26,420 square feet. Leasable area is 30,444 square feet. Land to plan area is 3.18. Let's go to page 3. This is the subject property located in the southwest quadrant of the city, near Waverly and Scurfield. Picture below is just an overhead view. Page 4 and 5 are the street views and aerial views at different angles. Page 6. And these are the rent comparables. These comparables are what the net rent model is based on, the actual rents from the market. All leases are current in relation to the reference date, which range from 2016 to 2020. Effective year built ranges from 1968 to 2008. Average wall heights range from 12 feet to 24 feet. Leasable areas range from approximately 1,800 square feet to 7,700 square feet. Net rents range from $12 per square foot to $15.33 per square foot. Page 7 is the workup. The total leasable area is 30,444 square feet. The total potential rent is $393,906. The model blended rent is $12.94 per square foot. The vacancy rate is 3.5%. We're utilizing 3% for non-recoverable expenses and $3.85 per square foot for vacancy shortfall. This results in an NOI of $364,613. Utilizing a cap rate of 6.1% results in a rounded assessed value of $5,977,000. Page 8 is the capitalization rates. This is the capitalization rate chart. The table second from the top are the industrial capitalization rates that fall between the 20th and 80th percentile. As you can see, the subject property's capitalization rate falls between the 20th to 80th percentile. Our model cap rates are further supported by the table of outside sources ranging from between 5.75 to 7.25. Page 9 is the Municipal Assessment Act. And let's go to page 10 to 16 is the I&E, or income and expense mailer, with the COVID questionnaire inserted in the middle. And page 14, they state the NOI was at $364,953. And to reiterate, the model was $364,613. Page 15 to 16 is the tenant list. Here they report 0% vacancy. And we feel this value is fair and equitable, and respectfully ask the board to confirm. We're open to any questions.
Thank you. Marcelo, any questions?
Yes, I do have some questions actually. Okay, so you are noting that there is 0% vacancy on the I&Es. However, if you look to your page 10, you can write in there, you can see that the owner has indicated 33% vacancy. First of all, were you aware that some tenancies were coming to an end? And second, did you inspect this building?
I did look at past vacancy rates between 2017 and 2019. It was a little bit lower compared to current, but I did not inspect. No.
Okay. And have you looked or confirmed with the owner the issues that were indicated in the COVID questionnaire? So did you actually take the step to actually speak with them about this?
I did not know. Okay.
And so you're not aware of any specific issues with this property? And that is first question. Second question is, this is all modeled. You haven't deviated from the model in any way?
Okay, no, I'm not aware of any issues.
Okay.
The first question. Second, this is model, yes.
Okay. And in terms of the overhead picture, you'll see that on your own pictures, this is a flex warehouse with some rather, in terms of the lines for access and egress, would you agree that it's very difficult to get large trucks in here?
Do I have any, do I agree it would be difficult to have access to trucks in there?
Yeah.
No, I think you can easily get around there.
Okay.
Go around.
Okay.
And
So,
the other point of contention with regards to flex warehouses, this is an industrial strip mall, which is like a retail strip mall or an office. And in situations like this, there's not a need for 18-foot wheelers to be loading and unloading usually in
Okay.
these type of confines. And based on the size of the subject property here, the average size of the leasable areas here are between 3,000 and 7,000 square feet. There's not a lot of need for inventory or 18-foot trucks to be going into that parking lot.
okay, so we've looked at some of your materials that you've included from Cushman Wakefield Stevenson for advertising. Would you say that these finishes are rather old?
I believe it looks average for industrial.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. They've been asked and answered. Thank you.
Richard?
I have none, thank you.
I have. If you go to the master rent roll on page 15, it shows the building to be fully occupied, correct?
Yes,
And the date on that rent roll is as of February 1st, 2020, correct?
that is what it shows, yes.
So I'm not sure when this vacancy occurred. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you. And Marcelo, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to actually hit upon is the vacancy on this property. So if you actually turn to my page 41, we can look at, sorry, I'm just going to double check that that's the right one.
41, that's halfway through your,
Yeah, that's the, I believe, ending February 2020 and February 2020, 41 and 42. Yeah, we can look at those. Okay, so if you look at 41 and 42, you can see that Shaw Cable Systems Limited, the initial rent started in February 2010 and ended in September of 2020. It went to September 2030. And again, on April 2020 to September, actually, see, I'm reading this wrong. Actually, I should have brought my glasses today, actually. Okay, the first one starts in February 2010 and ends in April 2020. The second one begins in September 2020 and ends in September 2020. Okay. First one, and that is a double unit.
can you clarify that, why a lease would start and end on the same date?
I don't know. I have no idea, but in the assessor's information, you saw the advertisement there for the double unit. So Shaw Cable Systems did exit.
Okay, continue.
Okay, and then you can see that EM Ventures, again, their lease, well, all I can say is they're no longer in there, EM Ventures, and you can see that there's no date there beyond February 2020. And that would correspond with the 2 units that are in the assessor's inventory from the Cushman Wakefield advertisement. So that is the first thing that I wanted to clear up. The next thing is I will just jump into the beginning of the report. So I was there on January 20th, 2023. Unfortunately, past our normal work hours. So that's why the pictures weren't included in this brief. You can see pictures 5 and 6, or sorry, pictures on pages 5 and 6. And again, I'll agree with Mr. Froelich that this is more of a retail / industrial office warehouse. So that is what these spaces are intended for. If you flip to page 14, you can see the rents that we've used, primarily the rents that are in place with some adjustments. So we have a rent of $12.14 per square foot for 30,044 square feet. And I believe the assessor was around $12.94 per square foot, $12.93 for the entire space. Again, not that far off. In terms of the vacancy and collection loss, that is where we have made an adjustment. So we are at 9% versus, I believe, the 3%, 3.5% for the assessor. In terms of capitalization rate, we've rated this as 7.25. We've given this an extra tick on the capitalization rate. In terms of the net operating income, you can see from the net operating income that we've included in 2020, the net operating income on leasehold, not the fee simple. Leasehold was 364,954. On 2019, it's 375,396. On 2018, it's 345,365. And on 2017, it's 267,867. So the city's leasehold, the leasehold income in 2020 is almost on par with the net operating income that the model has predicted. And that is taken into account that we haven't adjusted for those parameters, market parameters that bring this to a fee simple valuation. So that would be your vacancy and collection loss, your shortfall, your management, or as we refer to it, non-recoverable expenses, and other adjustments. So that is, again, higher than any year in the past 4 years that the model has predicted. So we think that this property, again, needs to be adjusted first on the net operating income side and on the capitalization rate side. Now, why is this building that is relatively new requiring an adjustment? And we've made a 25-point adjustment here. This property would have received a 7% cap rate on this property normally. Now, you can go to the COVID questionnaire and get some of the details as to decision making here. So there was significant impact in terms of COVID, and in terms of the third question: have any of the existing tenants closed permanently as a result of COVID-19? Not yet, pending financial difficulties for several tenants. Now, that is where the follow-up with the client was actually needed. And so we had a frank conversation with this client because we said, at first glance, this property looks like a good property. And what they detailed was, first of all, that this property has always had some issues in terms of revenue generation and revenue growth. So the most telling thing is the covenants on some of these leases, which are not high, and there is pending. There are leases that are coming to an end on some of the better leases, So if you look at 41 and 42, you can see that Synchronicity Financial Management is coming to an end in, again, November 2022. They did extend it, but not on a 5-year term. BioVision Seed Research, again, August 2021. And again, there was an extension, but not a lengthy one. And the remainder are these typical leases that you see in a lot of places where the covenants are not very strong and are affected by the, what's happened in recent years. So that would be the gym and that would be the escape room. So there are a lot of arrears in this building, and that is the first thing that they noted. Now, so I'll start going through the COVID questionnaire on page 37. So has the property experienced an increase in operating expenses? No. Number 6, have existing tenants requested deferral or rent abatements resulting from COVID-19? Yes. 2 tenants deferred rents, varying repayment dates. Number 8, have existing leases been amended? Adjustment to leases were necessary in order to accommodate late rent, partial rent, and non-payment of rent. And have tenants abandoned or breached the terms of their leases in direct result of COVID-19? Tenants have breached leases, however, landlord has not exercised their right to evict. Now, that's an important comment here. Because it kind of paints a picture as to how severe the issue is. Now, the first thing that, under normal circumstances, that a tenant or a landlord would probably do if rent isn't being paid is that at some point they would evict the tenant. Now, in these cases, the times are so hard that they're willing to work with these tenants just to keep them in there, to pay the utilities, to pay maintenance, all of that, the CAM costs essentially. So they're willing to work with them, but that doesn't mean that they're getting rent. So these tenants are getting worse and worse in terms of their arrears. And that just keeps going and going. Now, in terms of whether they had relief, yes, some of the tenants participated in some of the government programs that gave them relief. It doesn't mean that in the end that they, it completely covered their expenses, hence the reason they are still in arrears. And again, the client is mentioning this here. So, first of all, the covenants are an issue. Not so much the building itself, although the spaces in there are geared towards more office tenancies. And I think given the situation, I think there's a lot of supply out there in terms of this type of property. So that may be some of the issues with renting in this area, is that there are a lot of, similar types of properties, similar spaces that be rented from. And there is the additional competition coming from areas just outside of the city in the arm of McDonald in particular. So as much as I'd like to say that this is a great building, it has its issues, and that's why we've adjusted it. So we are asking for, if you turn to page 25, this is the valuation on it, 12.14 on the rent, or $12.14, 9% for vacancy and collection loss, 385 shortfall, 5% management, and a 7.25 cap. That is $4,133,534. And in the appendix, again, I've included the income and expenses from 2020 to 2017. That is my presentation, and open for questions.
Thank you very much. Ryan, any questions?
Yes, I do. So on page 23, you suggest factors for high cap rate, being low wall height, land to plan ratio, location, and age. With your cap rate, your rate is, you rated this property as Class B. This building has none of these factors, so 2001 built, 27 feet, wall height, good land plan ratio of 3.18. Would you agree that this building should have a lower cap rate than what you presented and should be more in Class A?
So I think you're concentrating on the physical characteristics of the building. We're not denying that it has the wall height. It has, in terms of the land to building ratio, probably not the type of land to building ratio that you would see for an industrial warehouse. But for this type of warehouse, we think that the parking is probably adequate. And having been there, I didn't see a large problem with parking. So to answer your question again, in terms of the physical characteristics, I think that you're correct that the building really has no significant physical characteristics other than it may have, you know, not the proper land to building ratio for an industrial warehouse, but for a, you know, a different type of industrial warehouse like this one, it may be sufficient. However, the cap rate is not just affected by the physical condition of the property. It can be location related. It can be perceived risk, can be the investment income's capacity, the investor expectations for appreciation, and required returns on the investment. And I think that's where this property falls short. Not so much on the side of the physical characteristics of the property. So, and that's where we concentrated our argument. I think for the most part, issues that I've mentioned are related, one, to collection loss, the covenants that are there, pending vacancies, existing vacancy. Those are more related to how this property is going to grow in terms of its income appreciation and the perceived risk along with that. So I'm not so much concentrating on the physical characteristics of the property.
And the other question I have is on page 24, you referenced $364,954. In your workup, you state $302,293. Why are you not using the actual performance of the subject property for the NOI, about $60,000 difference?
Okay, just so I have this correct, you're looking at my page 24 and the net operating incomes that are highlighted in red?
That's right.
Okay, so I thought I had explained this already, so I'll do it one more time. The incomes that are there are taken from the income and expenses that I've looked at for those years, which are included in this submission. So I've got 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017. Now, the incomes there are the contract, the leasehold, okay? So we value things on a fee simple basis, not on the leasehold. And that's the point that I was trying to make originally, is that the model is predicting a net operating income almost at the leasehold rate. Now, you remember that I said that we make adjustments to the leasehold to bring it into fee simple, okay? And that is the vacancy, the collection loss, the shortfall, the management, and the other, okay? So those adjustments haven't been applied to on the leasehold. So we haven't brought that into the fee simple. What that was saying, and I highlighted in red so it would stick out, is that you're almost on par with leasehold. So if we make those adjustments to bring it into a fee simple valuation, we should be lower, and we're not. The model is almost at the leasehold, and it shouldn't be there. It just shouldn't. what that is highlighting is that this property is not performing at the level that the model is predicting. And again, we have other years to look at. So I looked at the previous years, and again, the model was predicting higher net operating income. So in our opinion, the model is high.
So are you saying that the property owner has misled us with regards to the income expense mailer that they provided us?
That's not what I'm saying, Mr. Crowley. I
Well,
think
you're making assumptions here, and we base all our information on income expense mailers. So we're only as good as the number that we get. So
Mr. Crowley,
a lot of the adjustments that you're making are subjective, and they contradict what we see from the income expense mailer. And
okay,
so,
Mr. Crowley,
I'll
just cut you off.
Mr. Frolick, for the record, it's Mr. Frolick.
Yeah.
Okay.
The assumptions that I'm making are assumptions that we all make. So when we value a property, we value it on a fee simple basis. So there are adjustments that we make beyond that. That is why we like to distinguish between the leasehold and the fee simple. On top of that, I've had assessors come in here and point the very same thing out, is why are you so much lower than the leasehold? Well, we give them the same example, that we make those adjustments to the leasehold, and you would have to at that point.
So, okay, so does Altus, as a general rule, if the tenant or the covenancy of the leasehold is super strong, does Altus make an adjustment where they make a reduction on their cap rate, or they place a premium because the tenant is so strong? Like, so when Shaw was listed in this tenant, was there any sort of change in your approach to valuation, or in those situations you just use the model?
So let's be clear, we're not adjusting the rent, okay?
Merrick, I think that's pure speculation.
Fair
So
enough.
let's move on.
Okay, my last question is this. The applicant he stated on many times that the land to building ratio is not appropriate for this type of building. Does the parking requirements meet the City of Winnipeg bylaws with regards to having enough parking space for this type of building?
First of all, the bylaw is not evidence before us.
Well, the point is he's referencing that the land to building ratio is insufficient, and that may be one of the reasons why he's looking for a higher cap rate in his questioning.
Actually, that's not what I said. That's not what I inferred. So I said the land to building ratio is probably not good for an industrial warehouse, but probably sufficient for this type of warehouse.
But you're saying that now, but initially the questioning that you had asked the applicant, the assessor, was that the land to building ratio was insufficient. And so I just want to clarify that for this type of building, land to building ratio.
So we've established that this is not your atypical industrial warehouse. Okay, correct? Can we agree on that?
Oh, we agree upon that. I just want to confirm with the board of revision, with the panel members, that land to building is not an issue for this top property.
So I believe that
we're not going to confirm that right now, Merrick.
Thank you. There's no other questions.
Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. They've been asked and answered. Thank you.
Richard.
Yeah, I may have a few here. I ask your patience because I may have missed something, Marcelo, and bear with me. When you talk about a model, are you talking about the city's model or a model that Altus uses?
Yeah, no, the city's model.
Okay, thank you. So you try to use real numbers as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that. I think I heard you say that units 2, 3, 5, and 6 are vacant or not paying rent at this time. Is that correct? Shaw Cable being number 5 and 6, and 2 other ones? Okay,
A Shaw Cable vacated, I believe. I can stay there in September of 2020.
and the other two are vacant? Number 2 and 3?
So EM Ventures is no longer in there.
Mm-hmm.
Monica the Dance's gym is in there. BioVision Seed is still in there. Synchronicity Financial Management is still in there. And the escape room, Mask Escapes, is still in there.
Okay, so when you look at the square footage, then you're suggesting that about 30, or the owner is suggesting 33% of the building is empty then?
Yeah, we haven't said 33%.
I thought I saw that somewhere in the
No,
In the mailer.
in the mailer it says it.
in the mailer.
It says it in the mailer, but if you look at our vacancy on page. Sorry, you can just turn to the income summary on page 25.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so we have 9% there.
Yeah, I understand that.
We're not attributing that all to vacancy. Again,
let me get there, Marcelo, okay?
okay.
So we look at the numbers provided by the mailer. I'm going to lose my train of thought here. I had this all laid out. And I'm on page 25 and looking at your leased area. Now you show no vacancies here, which I have seen in other evidence from Altus.
Okay.
Just let me finish, if you don't mind. I need to get this straight in my mind, Marcelo. And you show values for rent for each of those 7 properties or premises. Are those imputed values for those premises?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not actually there at this point. You've
right, and you can see the highlighting on them. I don't know if you have it in color.
Yes.
Okay, so you'll see some that are in black and some that are highlighted in blue. And I don't know if it's like a bold blue.
No, it's not showing up on my screen.
Okay, so it would be 3132 as the leased area and 7025 as the leased area for the ones that are highlighted in blue.
Okay. Now, you suggest these vacancies were in 2020?
Yes.
That's my when question. So approximately 2 to 3 years they've been empty.
Well, yes, but we're not counting them as vacancies at 33% of the building.
No, I understand that, but I'm looking at the when would be a couple of years.
I think probably until about the end of 2021.
Okay, and what do you categorize as a chronic vacancy?
Chronic vacancy would be 15 to 25%.
And over what period of time? How many years does it have to be vacant?
I would want to see at least 3 years there.
Okay.
Prior to the reference date.
Okay. And I too was confused by page 24, those NOIs showing a 36% increase, but I believe you explained that clearly, so I'm fine. No further questions.
Okay.
And Marcelo, just to clarify, this building has never had chronic vacancy?
I don't think so. And I would hope that you would understand that we're not putting chronic vacancy on it.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to hear it from you.
No.
Page 25, what is the adjustment of a minus $36,000 for?
The next question.
Good question.
I don't think I've ever seen that unless it's.
I couldn't find it in the evidence anywhere.
I would say that
Well, it's in the evidence, Richard, because it's in page 25.
No, but other than that, And,
Yeah.
I couldn't find support.
So I would say that that is likely a typo, and maybe it was a worksheet that I was working on for another property and it just happened to have gotten in there. So I would say that an adjustment of 36,000 is likely not applicable in this case.
Okay, thank you. That was my only two questions. So that concludes this property. So the next one on the docket is 47 Scurfield Boulevard. And Marcelo, just to confirm, you have no brief?
47 Skirtfield, if you guys will confirm, that's one of the ones that we've agreed to.
Okay, well, there's three issues of appeal on this that, which I assume you're aware of.
Yeah,
And so you have no brief to defend your appeal of liability and classification, correct?
and we will confirm those.
Okay, well, Ryan, you can, is there a recommendation on this, Ryan?
There is, yes.
You can proceed with your presentation then.
Okay, file number 221832, roll number is 0306-516-5500. Address is 47 Scurfield Boulevard. Roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021. We do have a verbal recommendation to change the assessment value from the current $2,650,000 to $2,571,000. This will be based on change in rent per square foot.
And that's the only change?
That is, yes.
And what does the rent per square foot come out at?
$10.56.
And Marcelo, do you accept the recommendation?
We do.
You do. And Gail, do you have any questions?
Just in regards to this property, there was two different areas. So the one was 13,742 square feet and the other one was 1680. So you've adjusted to a blended rate of 1056 for all?
That's right.
Okay. And no change to classification or liability?
There wasn't any change.
No.
No.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, any questions?
Just one. On your workup on page 8, you use a value of 13,742 square feet. On page 1, you use a value of 15,422 square feet. Can you just explain that difference of almost $2,000?
Oh, I don't have that information on me to see. I didn't bring the brief as well.
Actually, Ryan, can I step in here?
Yep.
You have two income streams. The first income stream is 13,742 square feet, and the second income stream is 1680. That adds up to the 15,422 square feet.
Yep.
And that was my question, right? That the adjusted rental rate applied to it all. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Well, for purposes, because I'm just going through this right now, there are two income streams for this property. There's an office and a warehouse portion, or a flex warehouse portion.
yes.
Okay, yeah, and so what times for just for quickness and efficiency with the workload, we'll just combine them with regards to it. Like sometimes, you know, different assessors do different things. Sometimes there are two income streams. Mr. Whitbread and I had the two income stream property yesterday where I was able to give details on that. In this situation, we don't have that data here, so I apologize.
No, but the two areas add up to what the area, leasable area is on the first page.
Exactly, the 15,422, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry guys, it's just.
Got it. My oversight.
Any other questions, Richard?
Nope. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So let's move on to the next property, which is 62 Scurfield. Any preliminary issues on that one?
No.
Either party?
No.
Okay, Ryan, you can proceed.
Okay, file number is 222127. Roll number is 0306 516 2700. Address is 62 Scurfield Boulevard. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value is $6,814,000. Parcel use is warehouse. Number of buildings 1. Number of premises 11. Number of stories 1. Actual year and effective year built 1990. Wall height is 19 feet. Zoning is M2. Land area is 123,348 square feet. Plan area is 41,777 square feet. Leasable area 42,080 square feet. Land plan area is 2.95. Page 3. Subject is located in the southwest quadrant of the city near Scurfield and Waverly. Page 4 and 5, all the way to 7, is the aerial views with overhead view and street views. On page 5, you can notice the overhead doors on the top picture. Page 8, and here's the workup. The total leasable area is 42,080 square feet. The total potential rent is $493,763. The model blended rent is $11.73 per square foot. Vacancy model rate is 3.5%. We're utilizing 3% for non-recoverable expenses and $3.85 per square foot for vacancy shortfall. This results in an NOI of $456,517. Utilizing a cap rate of 6.7% results in a rounded assessed value of $6,814,000. Page 9, these are the rent comparables. These comparables are what the net rent model is based on, the actual rents from the market. All leases are current in relation to the reference date, which range from 2015 to 2020. Effective year built ranges from 1976 to 2008. Average wall heights range from 10 feet to 27 feet. Leasable areas range from approximately 3,000 to 7,800 square feet. Net rents range from $11.75 per square foot to $12.50 per square foot. Page 10, this is the capitalization rate chart. Table second from the top are the industrial capitalization rates that fall between the 20th and 80th percentile. As you can see, the subject property's capitalization rate falls between the 20th to 80th percentile. Our model cap rates are further supported by the table of outside sources ranging between 5.75 to 7.25. Page 11 is the Municipal Act Assessment Act. Page 12 to 13 is the income and expense mailer. Page 13, take note of the total rentable revenue of $595,833. The model in the workup is approximately $500,000 for potential rent. Page 14 and 15 is the COVID questionnaire. And we feel this value is fair and equitable, and respectfully ask the board to confirm this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Marcelo, any questions?
Again, this was all model driven.
It was, yes.
Okay, and you've made no adjustments anywhere.
No adjustments anywhere now.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
And Richard?
And I have none, thank you.
And I have no questions. Marcelo, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, the first thing that I'll note is that there is an error on the realty roll for this property in the ownership This is not Manitoba Hydroelectric Board. And again, the roll number is incorrect. So for the rest of it, I believe the information is accurate. And again, part of this is caused by the fact that we use templates, and sometimes we miss changing some of the important points like the roll number. So you see the property there on page 6 and 7. I will ask you to turn to page 12. So for the most part, we've gone with the contract rents and just made some adjustments on the existing leases. Again, we're at $12.28 per square foot, whereas the assessor is, I believe, at $11.73 per square foot. So I don't think rent is an issue. The issue would, of course, be the vacancy. So you'll note on page 20 that we laid out a chart there for you, and I believe we just spoke about this issue of what chronic vacancy would be considered. So you can see there that in 2020 it's at 29.6, 2019 it's at 22.3, 2018 6.8, and 2017 15.2. It's an average of 18.48. So we say that vacancy, chronic vacancy, starts at about 15% and goes all the way to 25%, and really realistically beyond that too, because there have been some municipal board orders that have spoken to the issue of vacancy that can go beyond 25%. I believe the assessment department draws the line at 25%, but there have been orders that have spoken to the issue of vacancy beyond 25%. So we think that 18.48 is high at this point. So we've just put this building into the beginnings of chronic vacancy. So we've put it at 15%. In terms of the shortfall, it's 385. Non-recovered expenses, 7%. And in terms of the capitalization rate, 6.75. So we end up with the valuation of $5,584,595 or $5,585,000 round. In terms of the appendix, we just included the 1 year of reported by the client, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Brian, any questions?
Well, in previous years, did you appeal the previous year's assessments when the net operating income was a lot higher?
It's not really relevant.
Yeah, it's just though I guess what I'm trying to say is when there are situations where vacancies are very, very low, we always use a chronic vacancy. So we are mindful of the issue that we have here. We just believe that the 15% vacancy is a bit more aggressive. So looking at the value here, we are open to a change in vacancy, but the vacancy issue does seem to be a bit higher than what we think would be normal based on the long-term performance of this building. So, yeah, so our only question is with regards to the vacancy in previous years would state that it's not been chronic based on the performance of the building. And so that's why we believe that the 15% vacancy is a bit too aggressive for the valuation process. So that's our only question or concern that we have here. Because in previous years, in 2019, it was 2 points. Is that 26?
Just this one. 2017 and 2018 were between 7 and 9% vacancy.
Yeah. So that's our only comment that we have here. We just don't. We believe that the vacancy is too high, and that's our only question with regards to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gail, any questions?
In this information that is provided with regards to the vacancies, 15% vacancy then when would you foresee going higher than that, Marcelo?
Well, as I stated, 15% was the beginning of chronic vacancy. So where would I see it going beyond that? So if this becomes an issue going forward, which it does look like it is, and vacancy were to increase, say, to 25, 30, or 40%, then we would take it up higher. So we would do incremental steps to this property as this one is proceeding forward. So if we see a drop, for example, in the vacancy, so we would probably at that point consider dropping the vacancy. But the way that it's looking now, it's going to keep going up, and that's why I want to stress this, that this is just the beginning point of chronic vacancy. So if we see this continuing and getting higher, at that point we'll make the move to say take it to 20% or beyond that. But at that point, at this point we haven't seen the need to take it to a 20% or a 25% vacancy. We would want to see more space vacant at that point, and we would want to see it vacant for at least 3 years.
Okay, and so the beginning of what's envisioned as a possible chronic vacancy.
Yeah.
Am I understanding this correctly, that you would always commence at 15% as the level for the beginning?
For sure, and that's what I would do. Yeah.
Okay, so I have it clear in my mind. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Richard.
Just looking at this building, Marcelo, it's been around for 33 years. Are you aware of whether there have been other periods of chronic vacancy in this building's life, or are we going through a blip here with COVID and inflationary pressures on the community? Do you have an opinion on that?
If it was
knowledge of previous.
For sure. And I think that was Mr. Whitbread, I think you kind of hit on exactly what I was thinking when I included that chart in there going back several years. So clearly this is not just a COVID issue. This building has had some vacancy issues going back to 2017. Now you think that vacancy typically for Southwest Winnipeg, and I think the assessors would probably concur on this as well, that Southwest Winnipeg typically in the past has performed better than other parts of the city. And why this building is not performing the way it is, I'll give you a hypothesis here. One is that maybe the building is starting to get dated and it has less use in terms of an industrial warehouse. You can see that it is more oriented towards office or retail use. So it could be the age of the building, it could be the location, and it could be also related to what's happening in the RM of McDonald. So the RM of McDonald is going through a huge expansion right now, and it abuts the city of Winnipeg. And I'm sure if you've driven out through McGillivray Boulevard towards the perimeter, you can see the expansion of industrial and office space in that area. And we know from our conversations with certain owners, including the previous one at 25 Squarefield, is that they've lost tenancies also in the past to the new developments in the RM of McDonald. First of all, it's easier to build there with less restrictions. The permit process is a lot smoother. And really, in terms of the rents, they're actually more competitive than they are in this area. So that is the unfortunate side of some of the industrial properties in Winnipeg, is that they are being outperformed by some of the properties that are just outside of the city in the arm of McDonald and in the arm of Rosser.
Thank
I
you.
hope that answers your question.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Marcelo, in your verbal testimony, you mentioned shortfall at $3.85 a square foot, yet you are at $5 a square foot.
Yeah.
Which one is right?
No, it's probably 5. And it would have been because of the increased vacancy in there. So we would have made an adjustment to that. And when we do the analysis of the leases, input all of the variables into our valuation spreadsheet, we look at the stabilized costs for the property. So if they are running higher than the shortfall that's being recommended for the property, we make that adjustment. And this one has, higher than normal vacancy costs. So we are adjusting that capitalization rate, or sorry, the shortfall rate.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my only question. So that concludes this property. Anyone need a break at this point in time?
I'm good.
Yeah.
We're all okay? Okay, the next one on the docket is 452 Dover Court, and there are 3 grounds of appeal on this property. And I understand there's a recommendation on this property.
There is.
So,
Is there 1,500?
Do you want me to speak to the classification liability first?
I was just going to ask you.
Okay. So the classification liability was filed because there was a nonprofit agency there, the Kidney Foundation. But we found out, thank you, Mr. Prolik, that they are no longer there as a tenant, and we actually did verify it. They are no longer a tenant. They have moved to McPhillips Street. So there is no need to apply that classification of liability. So we can either have it confirmed, probably the easiest way.
Yeah, I agree. Otherwise, you'd have to fill out a withdrawal of those 2 grounds.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, you can proceed with your recommendation.
Sure. File number is 222387. Roll number is 0306 515-6600. Address is 452 Dover Court Drive. Roll year is 2023. Reference date is April 1st, 2021. Assessed value is $3,237,000. And the verbal recommendation is for $3,010,000 based on change in rent per square foot.
And there's 2 income streams to this one. Did you combine the rent?
We did combine it, yes.
So what's the average rent now?
Or sorry, no, we did divide that.
Oh, you did?
For the taxable storage warehouse, we made the rent $9.63. That's for the storage warehouse. And for the office is $15.50.
So if you can give me that one on the storage warehouse, $9 and...
For the storage warehouse, $9.63.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. And Marcelo, were you aware of the recommendation?
I was.
And how do you
I
feel
agree.
about it?
I agree too. Thank you.
And Gail, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
And Richard?
I have none, thank you.
And I have none. So that brings us to the last active roll number on the docket, which is next door, I guess, or close by. 474 Dover Court. And Ryan, you have a recommendation on this?
I do.
And you want to read in the roll number and
Sure.
your
File
recommendation?
number is 221640. Roll number is 0306 515-6800. Address is 474 Dover Court Drive. Roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021. We have a verbal recommendation to change the assessment value from $2,339,000 to $2,175,000, also based on rent per square foot.
And this one has one income stream, so what's the revised rent?
It would be $8.86.
86 cents. Marcelo, any questions? Did you know about this recommendation?
I did, and we have no questions and we agree with it.
Okay, and Gail
I have no questions. Thank you.
and Richard.
And I have none, thank you.
And I have no questions. We have heard all of the items scheduled this morning on the docket, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Good job.
Thanks all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you
Have a
too.
good weekend.
See.